The first 3 weeks of NFL free agency have come and gone. So I thought today would be a good opportunity to take a look at the Giants roster and give you guys an inside look as to what this depth chart currently looks like. We'll do that in a second. But first, if you want the Giants to make the playoffs this year, if you want the Giants to get back to being a competitive team in the NFC East, hit that thumbs up icon right now. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for rocking and rolling with us and everybody that's been showing all the love this offseason. We appreciate you. Let's dive into it, though, and let's start at the quarterback position. Joe Schoen made it clear that he wanted to improve the quarterback position this offseason, and while he struck out on Matthew Stafford and then was unable to convince Aaron Rodgers to sign here, he did go out and make some power moves. I thought going out and getting Russell Wilson was a good move, especially when you factor in the money that he is going to be playing for. And before that, you went out and signed Jameis Winston. And while I don't think anyone was in love with the idea of Jameis being the starter for this team, people were warming up to it. And when you don't know if you're going to get a quarterback at 3 in the NFL draft, putting a veteran QB room together of Wilson and Winston is a pretty good job, I would say, by Joe Schoen to make sure that the Giants season does not fail strictly because of the quarterback position. Look, I think Russell Wilson still has gas left in the tank. Is he someone that can lead you to a Super Bowl? I don't know about that. Is he someone that can lead you for sure to the playoffs? I don't know about that either, but I think he could be the quarterback that leads the Giants to the playoffs, or better said, be a quarterback of the Giants that gets to the playoffs. He played playoff caliber football from week 7 to week 13, putting up 28.6 points per game, 271 yards per game, 10 TDs to just 5 turnover-worthy plays, and he had one of the better EPAs in football. But those last 6 games of the season are something I cannot forget. They lost their last 5 games, and the offense kind of fell off a cliff, and Russ maybe looked a little bit done at times, but the offensive line had injuries. George Pickens was out. They were playing better football teams. If you just take the stats that Russ put out and you average them out over a 17-game sample size, a season of 24 touchdowns, 3,835 yards, and 7 interceptions is the best Giants season since Eli Manning in 2016. Russ isn't elite anymore. But Russ is the best quarterback this team's seen in about a decade. And he is much better than Daniel Jones. And even though I wanted Aaron Rodgers, and even though I made it seem like I didn't want to watch Russell Wilson, I told you guys that if the Giants signed Russell Wilson, I would convince myself and be happy about it. And I'm going to root it on. And I am. And I'm excited to see what Russ could do for the Giants. And I like that there is a solid backup quarterback behind him. If Russ gets hurt or Russ looks terrible, F it. Let Jameis go out and spin, baby. 30 for 30 Jameis. It's much better than DeVito. He's better than Drew Lock, and he's better than Tim Boyle. Jameis and Russ are going to be a fun QB room. And they're 2 guys that are talented individuals. Russ is a Super Bowl champion. Jameis is the number 1 overall pick and a Heisman Trophy winner. This is the best quarterback room that we have seen under the New York Giants in a long, long time. I mean, Jameis threw for over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game last year. I know they lost, but he could at least sling the rock, and he's going to get Malik Neighbors involved early and often. If you take just their last 17 games and put them together that they started, Russell Wilson's 9-8, Jameis Winston is 8-9. And you could see that both of them performed at a pretty high level in those 17 games. I mean, if Jameis has to start all 17 games for some reason this year, and he goes out and throws 30 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, and he goes 8-9, people are going to be wearing a lot of Jameis Winston jerseys at MetLife Stadium. Going to be a lot of fun. Still need to go out and figure out, is this the 3 quarterbacks we want to roll with all year long? Do we want to go out and draft a rookie quarterback? What do the Giants want to do? Far from perfect, but I would say I am happy at the moment where the Giants are right now. And the way that I can convey that is I don't even mind at this point if they leave the NFL draft in round 1 without a quarterback. At the running back depth chart, it looks as such. Tyrone Tracy entering year 2, going to be your lead back this year. Devin Singletary coming back for a second season with the New York Giants after signing that multi-year contract in 2024. Eric Gray entering his third season out of Tennessee. And you got Dante Turbo Miller as well. So 4 backs on the roster right now. And I think the Giants have to leave the NFL draft with another back selected. This running back class is stacked. Todd McShay said it's the best running back class of all time. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but I know there are multiple players that I would like to see the Giants target, even on day 3, that I think can make an impact. And I'm kind of warming up to the idea of the New York Giants potentially selecting a back at number 34 if any of these guys are available, like Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, or Quinshon Judkins. If Judkins is available with the 34th overall pick, I might pull the trigger on him. Other great backs are available. Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterbo, Travion Henderson, Dylan Sampson, my guy Devin Neal, my guy Taj Brooks, and my guy Ali Gordon. I am going to be extremely happy if the New York Giants land any of those 3 backs, and Ali Gordon is someone that I will be looking at for the New York Giants to target in day 3. I think he's someone that can absolutely be an impact player in the NFL. Wide receiver looks like this. We saw the New York Giants go out and make a couple of moves, signing guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey, signing guys like Zach Pascal, and bringing back Amir Smith-Marset. Wide receiver 1 is going to be Malik Neighbors, expecting big things from him in year 2. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to slot into your slot receiver. Darius Slayton comes back on a 3-year, $36 million deal. You bring in Humphrey, you bring in Pascal. Jalen Hyatt's still there. What's going on with him? Bryce Ford-Wheaton remains on the roster. You have Washington from the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad, and Amir Smith-Marset, who is going to be your kick returner and punt returner yet again this year. What's going on with Jalen Hyatt? 8 receptions last year. Wasn't a part of the team. Wasn't a part of the game plan. Is he a part of the long-term plans with the New York Giants? Still just 23 years old. 2 years removed from being a third-round pick. 2 years removed from the Giants trading up in the NFL to draft him. I'd like to see him be a part of this team, and maybe pairing up with a guy like Jameis or somebody else can help him reach the potential we all thought he had. But even if Jalen Hyatt takes a step this year, you got to leave the draft with a new wide receiver. Doesn't need to be pick 34. Maybe pick 65. Maybe pick 99. Maybe pick 104. Like, you got to find a way to add another player. You averaged 16.1 points per game last year, and the only starter you've added to this offense at this point is Jameis Winston. I think you need another boost in that wide receiver room. And hopefully in the draft you find a gem and you get someone that can be a long-term contributor to this roster. The Giants also made some big moves on the offensive line. Starters look the same. Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, John Michael Schmitz, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor. And if these 5 guys stay healthy and these 5 guys play 17 games, I think the Giants can have a top 16 O-line in the NFL. And that's a major step for where they've been the last 10 years. But you went out and early on in free agency, signed a swing tackle in Hudson III. You signed another swing tackle in Stone Forsythe. You went out and made it a priority to bring back Greg Van Roten. You brought back Aaron Stinney. Now you got Josh Azudu at guard. You got Evan Neal in this picture as a backup tackle, but there's been some chatter throughout the offseason that the New York Giants are going to move him inside to guard, and maybe that is why they weren't as motivated to go out and sign a guard, even though I was told that they were all in on signing a guy like Will Fries. Does moving Neal from tackle to guard maybe give you the next Mekhi Becton? I'm not so sure. Neal did play a little bit better, I would say, this year for the New York Giants, but nothing I'm going to write home about, and nothing that makes me confident penciling him in as the starter right away. He was a little bit better. I thought he did better as a run blocker, and maybe as a run blocker, can he be someone that slides into that right guard spot and use his body, his strength as something that they can move people off the line of scrimmage? I'm not so sure. I would like an upgrade bigger than him at guard, but we'll see if in year 4 now, Evan Neal can find his footing. At the tight end spot, it looks pretty similar. You're bringing back Theo Johnson, expecting a big year 2 out of him. You re-signed Chris Manhertz. Daniel Bellinger is back, going to be his 4th year in the NFL. Crazy to say. I remember the day he was drafted. And Greg Dulcich, who you brought in late last year, the receiving tight end at UCLA. Can Theo Johnson be a guy that takes a step in year 2. 6'6", 264 pounds, tested off the charts when it comes to speed and agility at the combine. 24 years old. He's got the size, got the strength, got the athletic ability. Can he be someone that takes a step as a receiver and becomes kind of a safety target and someone that a young quarterback can lean on? Played 12 games last year, 29 receptions, 331 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'm hoping for a better season for him. And to be quite honest with you, if he doesn't show it in year 2, tight end becomes a major need for this football team. I believe in Theo Johnson. I just wonder what the ceiling is for him. Coming up next, we got to take a look at the defense as well. Giants made a couple of moves on offense, but they made more bigger moves on defense, and that's where I think the strong suit of this team now resides. We'll talk about that in a second. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor, Factor. When you go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use our promo code factorpodcast, you're going to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. If in 2025 you are looking to make health and your eating habits and your dietary preferences a bigger priority, get started with Factor. You get to pick your pre-made meals, which are prepped and cooked to perfection, and they take just 2 minutes to heat them up and enjoy them. If you're a busy person like me, where I pretty much live on the clock by covering the Giants and covering the New York Knicks, I don't always have time to go to the grocery store. I don't always have time to meal prep, but I definitely don't always have time to cook the healthiest foods. But my life is always better when I got Factor at the house in the fridge. The meals like chicken teriyaki, the sweet potato and chickpea curry is good stuff as well. And I really like the chicken Alfredo pasta as well. Get started with Factor today. Go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use that promo code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box. And we'll give you free shipping as well. Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping. All that info is clickable down in the comments and description of this video. The defensive tackle room saw a couple of additions as well. Roy Robertson-Harris joins his football team, last playing for the Seattle Seahawks. Jeremiah Ledbetter comes over from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now you got Dexter Lawrence with Raheem Nunez-Roches, Ledbetter, Roy Robertson-Harris, DJ Davidson, Jordan Riley, Casey Rogers, Elijah Chapman, and Corey Durden on the defensive tackle room. I like the depth they added. Having depth pieces like Nunez-Roches, Ledbetter, Roy Robertson-Harris, and DJ Davidson are solid. But I think the Giants are still missing a game-changing player at that D-tackle 2 spot next to Dexter Lawrence. And I think defensive tackle should be a priority pick for the New York Giants. Maybe pick 34, maybe pick 65, maybe pick 99, maybe pick 105. I think this defense can take a step from being good to potentially great if you get a player on the D-line next to Dexter Lawrence that is a game wrecker. Because if you compare Dexter Lawrence with the rookie game wrecker and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, you take your defensive line into an elite status. And we know Burns and Thibodeau are going to be the top dogs coming off the edge for the New York Giants this year. They went out and gave some pretty damn good money to Chauncey Goldson. 3-year, $19 million. He's going to be your edge 3. You didn't bring back Azeez Ojulari. I think you could use another pass rusher. I know you went out and signed Victor Dimukeje, and you have Tom and Fox as well. Maybe that's a pick on day 3 you add, but I think adding another pass rusher could make some sense. Especially with the injuries, Kayvon Thibodeau has shown he can't really escape at this point in his career. 2 times now, as he's only played 3 years, he's missed a handful of games. The first year was kind of that, I don't want to call it dirty, but just unfortunate play that happened in the preseason against the Bengals. This year, I think it was a broken wrist that he had. And it's honestly put up or shut up time for Kayvon Thibodeau. You talk like a big-time player. You bark like a big-time player. It's time for you to walk like a big-time player. I need Kayvon Thibodeau to be an elite football player. You were selected number 5 in the NFL draft. You're going to want big bucks this time next year. Earn it. You got a pretty damn easy job. You don't get double-teamed. Dexter Lawrence does. You don't get double-teamed. Brian Burns does. You get to go against the worst tackle every week. I need more than 5.5 sacks in 12 games last year and 28 tackles and 8 tackles for loss. Kayvon, you got to be better. We need you to. The inside linebacker room doesn't really change much for the Giants. You went out and signed Chris Board, a special teamer. You brought in Darius Flanagan-Fowles, the special teamer. But your main two guys are Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden. You drafted Darius Musow, the 6th-round pick out of UCLA last year. Deontay Johnson remains on the roster. The guy at Toledo that I thought had an awesome offseason and spring into the fall. Does your inside linebacker room get a boost in the NFL draft, or the Giants continue to try to piece that room together? Okereke, much better in 2023 than he was in 2024. I'd like to see Shane Bowen use him in spots that bring out better results. Find a way to get him going downhill. I want to see him back as a blitzer. Micah McFadden, back-to-back 100-tackle seasons. Just got to wrap up, finish, and drive. Still too many missed tackles out of him. The cornerback depth chart saw a big money free agent join it in Paulson Adebo. He got the big bucks, $18 million per year. He clearly slots in at corner one. But outside of that, I still think it's a lot of question marks at this cornerback spot. I hope Drew Phillips gets better in year 2. He was good in year 1, but he's more notably known as a tackler and someone that made plays near or around the line of scrimmage. I think he needs to take a step as a cover guy. Deontay Banks in year 3, we need him to be good. We do. We need him to take a step. It's now or never for Deontay Banks. If he stinks this year, he's not going to be a part of this football team much longer. Cordell Flott's a good depth piece, but after that, Art Green, Trey Hawkins, and D. Williams. You need another corner outside of just Paulson Adebo that you have trust in. Hopefully that could be Deontay Banks. It's a major need for the Giants still. I know you allocated $18 million in Paulson Adebo at that spot, but you're a Paulson Adebo injury away, knock on wood, from once again being the worst corner room in the NFL. Like corner, you spent big on safety. Javon Holland comes over from the Miami Dolphins, and he's going to slot in at your starting free safety. Tyler Nubin, year 2, round 2. Need a big leap at him. This time next year, we need to be talking about Tyler Nubin being a long-term piece to this team. You ideally want to be talking about the Giants having one of the best safety duos in the NFL. You don't really have great depth behind him with Dane Belton, Johnson Jr., and Raheem Lane. I think another veteran safety could make some sense here. I think maybe even another late day 3 pick could make some sense at safety. Got to continue to build up that room. Overall, the Giants defense should be a heck of a lot better. You spend a lot of money on a corner. You spend a lot of money as a safety. And when you think about every single positional group, the Giants have made a major investment. Defensive tackle, you're paying Dexter Lawrence $100 million. Defensive end / edge rusher, you gave $150 million to Brian Burns, and you used the number 5 overall pick on Kayvon Thibodeau. At corner, you gave $18 million per year to Paulson Adebo. You've selected a corner in the first round. You've selected 2 corners in round 3 with Cordell Flott and Drew Phillips. At safety, you used a 2nd-round pick on Tyler Nubin. You used $15 million on Javon Holland. And an inside linebacker, you gave Bobby Okereke $10 million. You have a lot of assets being spent at every single defensive position. You need that unit to carry you this year if you want to be a legit team in the NFC East. Grade the Giants roster for me. Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being the worst roster in the NFL. 100 being they're the best roster in the NFL. Grade it for me down in the comments right now. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up and let's go Big Blue.